Chamberlain, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. My name is James Walsh, and this week you're tuning in to the Paragon. Alex Chamberlain joining our show for the first time. He is the Paragon Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion and a great young talent who gives us a really good insight on his career to this point, and I think you can see where he's going in the future. He's already on top of the mountain, and I think he's only going to go higher if that's metaphorically possible. Really good interview with a really good guy. If you haven't already done so, check out Paragon Pro Wrestling. Find it on your cable box. Search for your cable listings. You will enjoy what you see from Paragon Pro Wrestling. Old school style, logical booking with some new school flair. Really good stuff, and I think you really will be glad to check it out. Anyway, let's get right to the interview with the Paragon, Alex Chamberlain, right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Hey everybody, this is Todd Kennelly, and you are listening to James and Patrick on the interview.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is the Paragon Pro Wrestling World Champion, Alex Chamberlain. Alex, are you with us?
I'm here, man. How you doing?
It's great to have you on the show, man. It's great to talk to you. I got to ask you, what's it like to be the face of Paragon Pro Wrestling as their World Heavyweight Champion?
Being the guy on top is always the best job, to be honest. I like it. It's a lot more pressure to be the guy, the face of anything. So with that, I like it. I like being, all eyes on. I like being, I tend to thrive under it. So for me, it works out. Works out both ways.
Yeah, I think you could say you probably came into your own with the more responsibility. That you kind of came out of the tag team. Having to rely on somebody else as well. With yourself now being the main guy, you were able to carry the load, and I think you're rising to the occasion, as they say.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right. So before you started, even in Paragon, you were a tag wrestler, and of course, in Paragon, we've seen you with Hammerstone. But I got to ask you, what do you think of tag team wrestling and tag team wrestling in the modern era? And is there a place for it going forward?
I mean, I definitely think there's always going to be a place for tag team wrestling. It goes hand in hand with with the business as it grows. I mean, it definitely it's a little more cyclical. I mean, you have your eras where it does really well. 80s were an awesome time. Mid to late 80s were a great time for tag team wrestling. Even the early 90s did well. And then it really flourished in the Attitude Era. I mean, it seemed like everyone was in a tag team then. And
if you look at WrestleMania 2000, I think there was only tag matches.
Oh yeah, pretty much. I think there was barely any singles matches, I believe.
The only Perry against the Cat, I think, was the only singles match.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I know that was the four-way main event with the McMahon's in the corner.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely coming back around again. It seems to be a focus. You have teams like New Day, Usos, Dudley Boys coming back. So it's definitely always going to be there. I love tag team wrestling, to be honest. It's fun. You get to work off another opponent, and there's a little more communication that goes on, so it tends to be a little more action-packed. There's very little low points, so because you're always going in and out. So tag team wrestling has always been a favorite of mine, too.
Very cool. Now, for those who don't know, you've had a career even before your career, really, because if you look yourself up on the Internet, it's a little hard to come by, but when we find the information, Alexander Chekhov, and you worked the independent scene for a lot of years, and I got to tell you, me and my wife have been going back and forth debating, the same guy? Because you look a lot different then, and the personality seems to be a lot different. Why did you decide with Paragon to abandon the Russian character Obviously, you are Russian, but playing up the Russian character.
Well, the Russian character was kind of born out of just trying to create something. I was doing independence, and I was just using, just didn't really have anything going for me, so I wanted to have some kind of character to create, for marketing, because wrestling is an independent contractor. You are your own brand. So I went with my best friend, Mike, and we did the Red Devil Fight Team for a few years. Yeah, and we did really well on the tag team division for a long time. We were contenders for the NWA tag team champions. We were number one contenders at one point. We're doing some stuff. Did a couple stuff for WWE, like darts and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a fun time.
Absolutely.
It just organically, after 4 or 5 years, kind of wanted to break off and develop into singles. And I kept moving around the country and just trying to learn from different areas, so that helped.
You have a long laundry list of guys that you trained under, including the great Jimmy Snuka. What did you learn from the Superfly?
With Jimmy, training with Jimmy, you learn to slow down. At that time, I think a lot of young guys do the same thing, is that they think they need to do a lot, and they tend to kind of run through stuff, and the fans can kind of miss what's going on if you're moving fast. So with a guy like Jimmy, he taught you to slow down and make one hit count. So a guy you can punch a guy 10 times, but I don't think it looks as dramatic or does as much damage as one guy who really just draws back and lays a really good solid punch in. I think it resonates with the fan more, and it makes it just looks more like it does more damage.
Absolutely. That's we talk a lot on this show. We talk a lot about psychology and explaining to people why things work. And I've had people I've talked to off the air and said, just try this and try it. From young guys who we interviewed, and it's a lot of fun to hear that Jimmy Snuka was telling guys a lot of the same things that, as a fan, I picked up on. That guys need to slow down a little bit and make the moves mean more.
Exactly. Less is more, I find. So
absolutely.
It really doesn't need to be 10 things going on at once.
All right. So as a guy who played a Russian character, thoughts on Rusev and how he did with a similar kind of gimmick in the WWE?
Oh man, I love it. I'm a huge fan of his. I do a lot of I've worked actually a lot of shows with Gangrel, and Gangrel trained him.
Oh, okay. I did not even realize Gangrel trained him.
Oh, you can totally, if you watch him work, you can totally tell. I mean, he hits hard, just like Gangrel does. So he makes his stuff count. So I'm a big fan. He's actually, and he's legit. He's actually Bulgarian native, and so I mean, his character comes off as a lot more sincere and a lot more legit, I think, than a lot of foreign gimmicks we've seen in the past.
Right.
And I like his style a lot. He's very I like his intensity. I love his finish. I like submission finishes. I like to use it as a clutch. That's always a cool one to see.
Yeah.
He really looks like it makes it look painful. So.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned that you wanted to break into singles, but the first time I had a chance to see you in Paragon, you were a part of a tag team with Alex Hammerstone. I guess my question is, how did you guys end up paired together, and were you cool with ending up back as a tag wrestler again?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Hammer's going to be something awesome in wrestling. You can tell right now. Kid's not even 26 years old, and he looks the way he looks. He's a very fast learner, and he's very smart. So, you can get, and it's cool to get a chance to kind of, take a younger guy under your wing and kind of teach him what you know, and to try to, get him on the same path. Because, at the end of the day, we all want each of us want each other to succeed. So, I was appreciative for people who kind of led me in that direction when I was younger. So I was kind of hoping that I could, whatever knowledge I could, impart on Hammer, that he'd take it and run. And I mean, he's doing awesome. I mean, he gets all over the place. He does very well, and he's only gotten better. I mean, even with doing the tag, that was good for both of us because it kind of brought us both out of our shells with the talking and promos, and both of us grew a lot, in that regard, becoming more entertaining and having a lot of fun. And it was very fun tagging with him. We're still good friends. Still hang, still keep in touch and everything. So
Absolutely. You guys still hang out on TV too. You're always there to help each other.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
that'll never change. A lot of people think, oh, because we're not tagging anymore automatically, we're singles fan. We don't, we're best friends. Like we'll always have each other's back. So
cool.
Why not?
Speaking of that, one of the best matches I would have to argue that I've seen you have, and you'd probably agree, was your tables match with Wes Briscoe, which aired just a few weeks ago. Incredible match. Thoughts on the match and working with Wes?
Oh, Wes is an amazing competitor. He's one of those guys where when him and I get in the ring, there's just something clicks, and we both bring a different side of each other that we don't get with necessarily every single person we roll with. So to get in the ring with him, I know off the top of my head, it's going to be a great match no matter what. We're going to steal the show, going to tear the house down because we just get each other when we're out there. And it's funny because it's like we're both trying to top each other, and it basically by doing that, it just compounds the match even more and the fans feed off it because they know we're just trying to one-up each other. And when you're in the ring with a guy like him, he's got a couple of years ahead of me in experience, and obviously his pedigree is probably one of the best in professional wrestling.
Yeah, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, literally, his dad and his uncle were two of the best wrestlers to ever get in the ring, period. Nice. So, you learn a lot every time you get in the ring with a guy like him.
Awesome. I also want to just take a quick step back to your tag matches with the Whirlwind Gentlemen, and I want to say that those matches sometimes even gave me a little bit of flashbacks going on in my head to Rockers and Demolition, because you guys are the big guys and they're the little guys, and it was just great tag psychology, and I love those matches. All four of you guys, I think, really advanced yourselves out of those matches because you all shined in different ways in those matches.
Oh yeah, no, we got that comparison quite a bit. Remy and Jack are two guys that really, I think, should have more national awareness than they do. They really haven't gotten their due, and they're two amazing competitors. They really are. Their fire is second to none. Their the way they tag, the way they communicate. It's funny because a lot of times in wrestling you have these size differences, and the fans kind of will kind of rag on it a little bit because they don't believe. But two guys like Remy and Jack, we easily outweigh each guy, both of us. I'm 245, Hammer's about 230, 225, 230. So we literally outweigh both guys by close near 100 pounds. But the way those guys bring it, it's I can't doubt for a second what those guys can do. They're an incredible tag team.
Absolutely, they are. All right, Right now, you're kind of sometimes managed. Hopefully, it'll be more consistent going forward to the TV viewer by Lisa Marie, the former Victoria, the former Tara. You talked a little bit about. Oh yeah, I agree. You talked a little bit about bringing some experience with the people you work with, but she has, been to the mountaintop when it comes to wrestling in WWE, and also you can argue, some of her TNA stuff was the best that the Knockouts division ever had. So, thoughts on working with Lisa Marie?
Oh, I love Lisa. I've known Lisa for a couple of years now, and it's great to pick her mind, to be honest. Obviously, to a girl who's been to WrestleMania, probably one of the best women competitors to ever get in the ring, future Hall of Famer, no doubt. To have her, kind of watch your matches from ringside and critique them, and it's funny because if you ever get a chance to meet her, she is the biggest fan when it comes to wrestling. She loves wrestling. She'll go to shows just to watch them. Just because she enjoys wrestling. So you get a really cool perspective when you talk to her because she can kind of see it from a professional end, and then she can also see it from a fan standpoint, which I think a lot of guys kind of forget to see it that way.
Right.
I think we kind of all get lost in the business aspect of it and what we think looks good, and we kind of forget when we used to see it with those rose-colored glasses as a fan, and she's good enough where she can see it from both those. So I get kind of a double dose of knowledge on that end, and she's, you work with a girl like her, you're going to learn something for sure.
Absolutely, and that's not just the guys in the ring that are unfortunately thinking of it the wrong way. A lot of the fans do the same thing, that think they're insiders, that forget the fact that they're fans and forget to just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, it's entertainment. At the end of the day, we have to kind of remember this is entertainment. This is for fun. This is give us something to kill some time, have hang out with your buddies. Just kind of sit back and enjoy a show. And I feel like everybody kind of forgets that sometimes. They kind of nitpick too much. It's like when you watch The Walking Dead, I'm not sitting there breaking down the scenes and trying to understand why the director of photography chose this shot. I mean, I'm just enjoying the show. I don't care that Daryl's acting chops weren't up to snuff that day. I don't care. I just want to see some zombies get the heads chopped off, and watch some gore.
There you go. Well, that's absolutely the way I look at it too. And I'll tell you this: on the most recent episode that aired on Saturday, they had Lisa Marie actually doing commentary with Todd and Jeff, and I thought that really added something to the match because she was completely singing your praises. And I hope it's something that they incorporate more because I think it added a little bit more to your appeal by her constantly singing your praises. It kind of elevated you a little bit.
Yeah,
to the TV
and that's what she wanted to do when she wanted to be basically be with me at Paragon from now on. So I mean, I was definitely on board, and she definitely is helping basically elevate my status even more. It's nice when you can have former WWE diva kind of singing your praises and putting you over, and that just kind of elevates your status immediately because if she's if a girl with her status has put me over, then the fans kind of see me in that level too. So
very cool. Now, as you can tell, I watch as much as I can of Paragon, but I got to tell you, when you guys lost Pop TV, when TNA jumped on board with Pop, and unfortunately Paragon was sent away, it was a big blow to me as a fan because I thought, you know what, we're losing it. Instead of gaining, TNA is going to stay on. Yeah, but we're kind of losing a TV show. You guys found your way. You're on MSG Network late at night now. I can tape it and watch it the next day, and I always do. But I guess my question is, was the morale of the Paragon locker room shaken at all when you guys lost the Pop TV deal?
I mean, maybe some guys. It wasn't. If guys they weren't voicing it, like to everyone. I'm sure everyone probably was trying to figure out what was going on. That little period where we didn't have necessarily a TV deal, right blocked away when we were moving around. But the guys who make decisions kind of assuaged everyone and kind of eased everyone's nerves, letting them know there was something down the road, and they got some deals lined up. And then obviously they announced all these different stations we're on now. So we still have some pretty decent national coverage, national presence, and just trying to keep growing the brand. That's really what they're doing now, is that they're really working on the marketing aspect and improving social media and all the things that are really important for, I think, businesses nowadays need to have a huge online presence,
right.
media presence. I think it's super important, especially with this business. I think fans are very, very involved, so they need to, keep up with the information and have some stuff material available to them. So I think that's where Paragon can really thrive.
Absolutely. What do you think, other than obviously the online presence, but in terms of the on-screen show, what do you think Paragon needs to do a little different to reach that next echelon?
I just think that on-screen wise, I mean, the product itself is solid. The wrestling is good.
I agree. Very solid and
awesome.
Logical bookings. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the production. I mean, the production is great. The guys who do that, who bring the actual, everything that staff is awesome. They really get it. I love the video packages they do, and the way they present the characters are phenomenal. I think Paragon just needs to work on, I don't know if it's necessarily an on-screen thing. I think it's just a marketing and brand awareness, to be honest. I think people just need to know that this product is out there. And I think with a really strong marketing initiative, I think once you get people aware that this product is out there and they see what they can see, then that will change everything.
I agree, and I think it's certainly something I look forward to watching every weekend. I'll tell you that much.
I appreciate that, man. It's awesome.
All right. Before I let you go, I guess I got to ask the standard question that we call ourselves Interactive Wrestling Radio. We do that because we let people ask questions to the guests.
Sure.
And one of the questions that we get asked, and it's inevitable, and I'm sure you get asked it every time you leave the house, is, do you have any plans on ever going to WWE?
Oh, yeah, I mean, for sure. I think anybody who ever gets into wrestling has dreams of main eventing WrestleMania. If you don't, then why do we do this?
Right. Yeah. And I was impressed, by the way, that you hung with me on my WrestleMania 2000 reference. That was impressive.
Oh, yeah, no, dude. I've been watching wrestling since I can remember, since I have memories, man. So I remember big main events. I remember I've watched every WrestleMania since I could, and I still like to go through and watch all the old stuff today. I mean, in terms of your question, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want to make the real money and have the real, legacy on the business and really leave an imprint, then at this point, WWE is the place to be. And if for me, it's main eventing the biggest show in the world. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
Very cool. Completely unrelated to you, but any particular match you're looking forward to this Sunday at WrestleMania?
I'm really looking forward to. I think the Triple H Roman Reigns match is going to be awesome because I know a lot of fans kind of rag on Reigns, but I think people just need to kind of get over the fact that he's the next guy on top. He's going to be. So, people can resist it all they want, but the kid, he's ready. I mean, he's got an incredible look. He's got to make some improvements and everything, but who's perfect? So, and Triple H is probably the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest professional wrestler ever. So, he doesn't have a bad match. I mean, the guy hasn't had a bad match in like 20 years. So, I mean, I think they're going to have some fun.
I think so too. I think that might be and I hate to say sleeper because it's a main event, but that's the expectations seem to be low. That I think it's going to blow the people out of the water.
It's obviously one of those matches where the fans are probably going to be behind Hunter going into that one. But I think just because the fans are going to be vocal and loud, the match is going to be entertaining regardless, just because people have such a strong opinions for both guys.
Yeah, so, kind of like a Hogan Rock kind of thing, where the fans make the
exactly.
Match.
It's like, in that match is one of my all-time favorite matches. I love that match in Toronto. That was such a good match. Hogan and Rock played that perfectly. They couldn't have any better.
I think that's an example as well of them. Okay, scrap the format. We got to play to the crowd now. So
exactly, and that's what happens when you have two of the greatest performers ever get in the ring and know how to make an audible call last second. Like, okay, this is happening. Let's roll with it. So cool. I think both these guys get in the ring on Sunday are going to do the same thing.
All right. And I'll keep an eye out for any news coming out about Paragon Pro Wrestling. We've heard some rumblings. I'll just leave it at that there could be some news coming out of your guys' camp coming out. Yep. For now, you can always check you guys out. My best way to catch it is on the MSG network, which is available through DirecTV if you have the sports pack. So set your DVR. If you still have one, set your VCR, but make sure you record it and watch the Paragon Pro Wrestling action.
This is Fidel Sierra, the legendary Cuban assassin, and this is live from the Wrestling Epicenter.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, this is the Macho Man Randy Savage, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. Oh, yeah.
The magic's in my head, I can't understand, but I still like my chances. And it doesn't really matter to me, I take my stand, but I still like my chances. Ow! No, 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 no.
Pat, when we first started doing this show back in 2002, this is even before you came around, our first interview was Trinity. And our first interview was on when I ran a website that was metaltrinity.com. Hang with me on this because it makes sense, okay?
Okay.
So my introduction to that interview, and I say that because I'm going through my old interviews and recording them over and putting them up on YouTube and converting them over to MP3 so people can go back and listen to them again. The interview started, "Welcome to Metal Trinity with our guest Trinity." I say that to say this. And by the way, welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. We just finished up with a guy who is the Paragon Pro Wrestling World Champion, Alex Chamberlain, whose nickname, ironically enough, or intentionally enough, as he came up with it just recently, is the Paragon. So he's the Paragon Champion, and his name is the Paragon, Alex Chamberlain. So that's like the Metal Trinity interview. There you kind of reminded me of that when he first started calling himself that.
Okay, sounds like, okay, I've never seen Paragon Pro Wrestling. I'm going to assume he's a heel. Am I correct in that?
He is a very convincing heel. Here's the deal.
Okay, but that's a very heel thing to do. It's like, oh, I'm naming myself the company, basically. I'm taking the company's name and adapting it to myself.
And he's taken it one step further and claims now that the company named itself after him.
Oh, there you go. Even better. Even better.
He's taking it more. So he's done a really good job. The evolution that they've done with his persona is tremendous. I really wish I didn't miss the time that I missed when they went off Pop TV to when they resurfaced on MSG and elsewhere. They supposedly, by the way, have a TV deal to announce this week, which is why we were going to do the interview, but they weren't ready to announce it just yet. But it sounds like they're going to be moving onwards and upwards. So I'm glad for
That's good to hear. We're getting more and more wrestling out there. Ring of Honor's out there, TNA. I guess they took Paragon's spot on Pop, but Lucha Underground on El Rey, and you've got WWE with their 49 billion hours of programming. So, there's plenty of wrestling content out there. If you have access, you have the New Japan show on that, which JR does commentary for. So, a lot of stuff out there.
It is, and it's good. And Lucha Underground is good, too, but we'll get to that in just a sec. I wanted to just praise Alex Chamberlain real quick. The cool thing about him is, and I said, I feel like I missed something during the time because he was engulfed in a really good tag feud that I think you would have enjoyed between a guy that I'm actually getting along with on Facebook, not over politics. I have no idea what his politics are. That tends to be about 9 of the 10 posts that I make these days. But over wrestling, he just seems to really have a great head on his shoulder, and that is Remy Marcel. And he is in a part of a tag team called the Whirlwind Gentlemen. They're two relatively small guys, but they don't work necessarily small, if that makes any sense. Kind of like
is it anything like Benoit and Guerrero, kind of?
Exactly where I was going to go. Kind of where DiBiase said that you don't even think of them as small guys that much because of the way they work. Well, I guess you do because they're in there with such bigger guys. These guys.
Now, Eddie was, I'll be honest, especially when he was in the WWE, and he was probably, I hate to say this, he probably juicing, but there were times when they would announce his weight as like 215 or like 225 or something like that. I'm like, he's that small? Really? Yeah, I guess that he was a cruiserweight champion, so I guess that makes sense. But it's like you just kind of forget about it.
It was. Oh, yeah. Well, if you look at Benoit at the time of his death, and we're probably going way off topic, and as opposed to Benoit in, WCW circa 96 when he was having those, knockdown dragouts with Kevin Sullivan, the body shape is almost entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can pretty much guess what happened there. But going back to my comment, they were engulfed in a really good feud with the Whirlwind Gentlemen, who are kind of like somewhere in between the Rockers meet the Fantastics meet the Fabulous Ones. So like a really good throwback kind of tag team. And Chamberlain was teaming up with Alex Hammerstone. Now, he's also a big guy, but he's a young guy, a little bit younger than Alex Chamberlain. Alex Chamberlain's got to be, he's younger than me too, so he's only like 30. Long story short, their tag matches, and I said this during the interview, were reminiscent of like the Rockers against Demolition. Kind of the smaller team trying to get over on the bigger team. And I mean, they had some really good tag matches. Unfortunately, I missed some of those because of the time that they were, dark in my area. But now that I got him back again, he's now on singles. He's still in a partnership with Hammerstone, who helps him out in some matches. And his valet is Victoria, Lisa Marie.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
That ain't bad to look at either.
No, and actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I've been watching Ring of Honor lately, and I was like, Taylor Hendricks is Jay Lethal's valet. And it's like, we interviewed her. I remember that.
She is. It's really weird. I don't think that there's much of a story involved in that, but it is Ring of Honor, so they don't tend to really put those stories together that well.
I don't know how they came together. That's the thing. I don't know what her role is or anything like that. I just like, hey, that's Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah, I can't tell if they're supposed to be romantically involved, if that's really going on in real life or not. I mean, because I have no idea. I really don't. And that's not a knock on Ring of Honor. I do try to catch, especially their actual pay-per-views. I try and catch it, and I really do enjoy what they do. But storytelling in terms of week-to-week programming is not necessarily their strong suit. It's always been what they do in the ring.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, and Paragon, by the way, has got a really good old-school feel to it with a little bit of new-school flavor. I hope that as they go forward, they find a way to get a little bit more of that world-class kind of feel. Because they're in a stationary location, they kind of fall victim of what happens with TNA, where they kind of have the casual fans that are attending just because it's there, as opposed to having the homegrown kind of Von Erich, white heat, if you mess with them kind of guys. If they could find a way to really build that to where the heels are really the heels and the baby faces are beloved, then they'd be doing so much better with their setup. They're building towards it. Chamberlain is a fantastic heel. But it'll be interesting to see if they can do it going forward. I mean, they got booking for them. Another guy we interviewed, Len Denton, the grappler, is their booker. So he's doing a fantastic job. And if you like old school style bookings, check it out. Google it. Find them out at ParagonProWrestling.com, as well as search on your cable or satellite box. Just type in the word wrestling and search, and it'll come up. So DVR it, record it however you want to, but it's worth watching. And speaking of worth watching, Aztec Warfare from Lucha Underground. I'm sold. I'll admit it. I'm sold.
It's damn good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sold. That really sold me.
Yeah, and I also recommend to anybody looking to get into Lucha Underground, and I've been watching it since close to the beginning. The first episode I saw was episode 4 of season 1, so I've been around, like I said, close to the beginning, and I've gone back and watched the first 3 episodes too, so I've seen every episode. I highly recommend starting from the first episode of season 1, which may be possible because there's talk that they're going to get a deal with Netflix. They've gotten a deal with iTunes, but you have to pay for it. But if you want to give them money, I mean, that's a good way to do it. But yeah, no, I love Lucha Underground. It's like, you want to talk about week-to-week storytelling for wrestling. It's like that's the show I go for. It's got like a heightened reality comic book type of element to it, and it's perfect for the All Right Network because they have all the nerdy shit and all the kind of Groundhouse movies and all this other crazy stuff. So, I mean, it fits that channel like a glove. It's perfect.
They had the Mario Brothers movie on there a couple days ago.
Oh, God.
Like, oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you want to talk about a cult movie. I mean, good Lord. Yeah, apparently Bob Hoskins was drunk on set almost every day for that film.
You'd almost have to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exact response to that. But, yeah, no, Lucha Underground is terrific, and this is the second year in a row they've done Aztec Warfare, and it was great the first time, and it was, I would say, probably even better the second time because it's the way they booked everything. And they introduced Matanza, who they've been building up for like a year and a half.
And that's an example of a guy who came in and lived up to the hype. And if you watch that match, we talked a little bit earlier about the Whirlwind Gentlemen and how they don't wrestle as small guys. Here's a guy that's wrestling as a monster, and if you find him on Wikipedia, he's 5'10".
Yeah, he's pretty short, but he's stocky, and he's
he's built like a brick shithouse. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm. But he's like, yeah, I mean, some of the guys in that match kind of towered over him, but it didn't really matter. You still kind of bought him as a monster.
Yeah, some of the guys did, and he still seemed like he was just a beast, like a rabid dog. And the moves that he was pulling out were really cool. And he established a finisher in there, too. So the things that were a little small for people to pick up, he established essentially 2 finishers in that entire match. And to do that in one appearance is virtually unheard of these days.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, and it was, and credit to them for actually pulling the trigger on Matanza and giving him the belt because, you know, he's their creation, he's their baby. They've been, like, he's basically their version of Kane, and they've been building him up for a year and a half. And it would have been so easy to give the belt to Rey, who made his, it's funny, Rey Mysterio made his Lucha Underground debut in that same match, and nobody's talking about Rey. They're all talking about Matanza. And that's, in a way, that's a good thing.
Yeah, who beat Rey in the very final 2.
Mm-hmm.
In the final 2, he beat Rey Mysterio. And that was, you know, that crowd, we talked a little bit a few moments ago about that white-hot heat and how people were pissed off. Well, you're in L.A., and you have, I hope I'm not telling tales out of school here, but a large Mexican-American contingency in that audience. And when he pinned Rey, they were pissed.
Yep. After cheering him when he first came on, because they were like, oh, God, cool, a monster guy, and he's beating everybody. That's awesome. Oh, he beat Rey. boo, and it worked out beautifully. Dario Cueto, have you seen any of Dario Cueto before?
Oh yeah, I like I said, I'm not a newbie per se to Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I never went out of my way to just sit there and watch the whole show. It kind of was a watching it fast forward, or hey, look, this is on, and I catch the last 5 minutes of it or something. I might be changing that after watching this show because that was damn impressive.
Yeah, no, I love Dario Cueto though. He's probably the best non-wrestling character on wrestling TV right now. I would throw him up there, and he's get this, he's a trained actor. He actually has a pretty lengthy IMDb page. If you go and look at him, he's actually like a legitimate actor, and it shows because he's damn good, and it makes the show that much better.
Right, and you talked a little bit about the promos, the things that they do backstage. You know, some of it is a little bit ridiculously nerdy, cheesy, and I actually, the opening segment was almost thinking that this would actually work for Hogan in the Dungeon of Doom, for how kind of way out there. There's no Hulkamaniacs here! Ah! It's not hot!
I remember that. Yeah, that was the intro. That was Paul White's introduction, correct?
Yeah, he came in. Yeah, he did the. He liked to unscrew Hogan's head or something like that. He liked to just.
Sure.
The other day they have this thing where you build these little mutants, and we do Mutant Mania, and it's kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but like with these little mutants that you mix and match and create, and. For some reason during it, I started doing the Hogan voice, and I got it down perfect. Like, I was just nailing it. And then, like, the next hour, I couldn't speak because my voice was gone. So, I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. But, yeah, apparently I could do it if I put my mind at it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, speaking of Mania, this coming weekend is the big one.
Yeah, and the cool thing about WrestleMania is that it always draws like a huge wrestling audience, and there's always other shows going on that weekend. So, if you're interested, check out Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. I think Evolve's running a show as well.
Well, they're the little buddies right now, so yeah, they would be.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm not a fan of that, by the way. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm disappointed in those guys, but I like Renegade.
If you want to check it out.
I like Renegade Spirit, and I don't see that in Evolve, but that's just my personal opinion.
I've actually never watched Evolve, so I don't know. Is Drew Galloway still their champion?
I don't have a clue.
Because I think he was still their champion while working with TNA, so I don't know.
Who's that?
Drew Galloway.
Oh, yeah, he's one of the tag champs, I believe, and there's some discretion about how they're going to handle it since he's the TNA champion now.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So, yeah, apparently TNA is going to let him continue to work there, but they got their hands in a lot of cookie jars, Evolve, with basically becoming WWE's official, unofficial farm system, and also having TNA talent on their roster as well appearing. So it's kind of a strange dichotomy that they got going on there.
That is interesting, but yeah. Speaking, you mentioned farm system. WWE on the WWE Network, they're going to be having their latest NXT Takeover special, and Nakamura is going to be making his debut. That's pretty cool. And you're going to be having the Hall of Fame ceremony on Saturday night, I believe. So there's a lot of stuff to check out this weekend.
A lot of good guys going in this year. I'll give them credit. I was a little bit skeptical when they put Godfather in. It wouldn't have been my choice. But most of the other guys going in are great selections. Jacqueline, I'm on the fence on, but I can, that's fine by me. I can live with that. If it's not going to be Elizabeth, then, anybody that's actually paid their dues, I'm okay with.
Okay, here's a dumb question: is Luna Vachon in yet?
No, but
That's
not going to put. They're not going to put more than one deceased person in at a time that I'm aware of.
I know that's one of their things. I also think they have a thing with women where it's like they only want to put one woman in per year.
That's the thing. They only want one woman per year, and they'll allow one deceased wrestler per year. Because there was talk that British Bulldog was going to go in this year, but I guess Big Boss
Man took. Yeah.
Which I'm cool with.
I'm cool with that. No, I love Boss Man. He was underrated.
Great talent. Great time. I mean, he had some great stuff that he did both when he was, the heel when he first came in, as well as even in WCW, his Ray Traylor stuff was hot and cold, but when it was hot, it was pretty good.
In the Attitude Era, he was past his prime physically, but he did some of his best character work too. So it's kind of like
he did some of his best work then. I thought he was past his prime too, but he was like only in his late 30s.
Physically he had broken down a lot, and it was pretty obvious. But he had some of the best promos of his career during that point.
Well, yeah, I don't remember him being a great promo guy, but I do remember his theme song. And every time I hear the phrase Cobb County in Georgia, the first thing that goes in my mind is, if you ever take a trip down to Cobb County, Georgia, you better read the signs, respect the law and order.
Yeah, and he looked the part, too. He looked like a former prison guard.
Yeah, I believe. The costume probably helped.
But even out of the costume, he looked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got Akeem, who was his tag partner, and by the way, Slick's going to be inducting him. And Akeem currently is a prison guard on death row. So, there you go.
Interesting. All right. Everything comes together. Of course, Sting's going in, finally getting a good moment in the WWE.
I think he earned a good moment. I mean, realistically, it's probably why he went in. In addition to the DVDs and the nod of, hey, this guy was great. The Hall of Fame nod is definitely something that he would want. I'm disappointed that he didn't get the moments that he deserved.
Well, I mean, let's just call it what it is. He should have gone over Triple H last year at WrestleMania. I mean, come on.
Oh, that's
everybody said it. And literally everybody said it.
Part of the reason why I don't watch now, in all honesty. It's a big part of
I don't know if you saw this. There was an interview with Scott Hall where he said they were going over WrestleMania rehearsals the day before the event. And they were going over the match and going over the spots they were going to do and the run-ins and all that other stuff. And then Triple H, while laying the match out, was like, all right, then I hit Sting with the sledgehammer, 1, 2, 3, get the win. And apparently, according to Scott, him and Hogan both looked at each other and were like, really? You go over? It's like, okay, it's your show. I'm not going to stop you. But it's like, Scott made the comment, it's like, Sting, what kind of attorney do you need to make sure that shit like that doesn't happen in your first match? I mean, seriously.
If you really get into it with some people, they'll say, well, if you think about it, Sting lost a lot of his matches, even in WCW. And there's some truth to that. But when you're building a guy in as this legend who's coming in, he should have won that match. There's no logical reason.
To bring it back to the Rey Mysterio example in Lucha Underground, I could understand it if it was being used to build up a new guy. I could understand that. I could even understand it if you were doing the Undertaker Dream match. All right, yeah, Taker will go over. It's WrestleMania, fine, whatever. I can live with that. But to me, Triple H, that's a match where it's like, all right, Sting can go over. He gets his big moment. The fans go home happy, and nobody gets hurt because Triple H is one of the biggest people in the company, whether he loses 100 times or not, so it doesn't really matter. So it's like, all right, this was the best opportunity to give Sting a victory, and they didn't do it.
And they could have even done a thing, if they were even going to go the route of having run-ins and all that, they could have done some kind of a screw job. Well, not screw job, but a little, like, who was I thinking of? Like Jericho when he helped Hogan win the title at Backlash 02. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily a screw job, but you got a little bit of a helping hand there.
Oh yeah.
Inadvertent, whoever else has a gripe with Triple H, which could be half the roster, considering he's...
They're just afraid to say it.
Yeah. There you go. So, I mean, they could have done a lot of different things with that, and they didn't do any of them, and it really pissed me off. And I'll be honest with you, I still haven't watched a full WWE show since then. I took the time off. I told everybody I was taking time off because I'm pissed. I haven't bought anything of theirs, and they've got some cool new action figures out, man. They got some, some great new throwback ones that I would have picked up in a heartbeat. But I'm kind of like, you know what? Might only be my $10, or $20 because they're charged ridiculous prices for toys now. But I'm not giving you it right now. Not until you do something to win me back. And right now, I can't think of anything they can do to win me back except finally accepting the fact that Hogan existed.
They'll get over that eventually. They just wanted to get over once they get over the hurdle and the bad press that went along with the whole Hogan scandal thing, and once time has kind of healed that wound, they'll get over that.
I think a lot happened to fix that this week, with the or last week with the verdict coming down. I think if nothing else, he's never going to see that money, but that's a good will thing for him. It's kind of like yeah, this proves that the U.S. government agrees that he was wronged in terms of being recorded without his knowledge, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it doesn't fix the fact that he said and did what he did. You know, you still shouldn't bang your friend's wife, even if they're asking you to, and you still shouldn't go on a racial.
Look, the real moral of the story is don't be friends with Bubba the Love Sponge. That's the moral of the story.
Or the other moral of the story is if he has a hot wife and he wants you to bang her, make sure his cameras aren't rolling.
Yeah,
That's
right,
another
well,
moral.
I mean, that's another thing. If anybody asks you to
That's
bang
a
your
Full
wife,
House
you should...
ending right there. You know, you can see. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I was going to say, it's like, if anybody asks you to bang their wife, you should immediately be suspicious.
Like, yeah, what? Now,
Yeah.
granted, and I've said this before, that's probably better than anything that, well, I'll leave it at that. Probably than anything you probably could have picked up on the street or in the bar, but I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, WrestleMania.
So, WrestleMania.
We should run down the card.
Yeah, I think WWE's already done that for us. Well,
there you go.
All right, so bunch of matches on the show. A lot of them got crammed onto the pre-show. I don't know if you even want to bother going over those, but
yeah, the Dudley Boys are in one of them, and that really surprised me.
Yeah, Dudley Boys and the Usos. Yeah, that got bumped to the pre-show. Kalisto versus Ryback for the U.S. title got bumped to the pre-show, which is not as shocking, considering it's Kalisto and Ryback. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal got bumped to the pre-show to the surprise of no one. That had an opportunity to be something special, and we thought it was going to be something special when Cesaro won it, but they did nothing with him, and they didn't do anything with it the next year, so it begs the question, why are they even still doing it?
Why are they even bothered? It's just it's a comfort thing, I guess.
Yeah,
at this point.
I mean, it means nothing, so who cares? And there's also a 10 Divas tag that got bumped to the pre-show.
Which is basically, whenever they do these big number of people tag matches, it's essentially just to
cram a bunch of people onto the card.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get them on the card so they can wrestle in front of the big crowd, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if the match doesn't mean anything and nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean anything either, so...
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I can truthfully say none of those matches hold any interest for me. I'm with you. I am a little surprised that Usos and Dudley's got bumped off the card, though.
Well, especially because it's the Dudley's first match back, and I guess I hold them in high esteem, even though Bubba was not exactly courteous to me. To sound a little bit like the Water Boy for a moment there. But yeah, no, they're good guys, and they went back, and I still view them as big names. And then against the Usos has the potential to be a damn good match. So I was surprised that got bumped, essentially off the card. I mean, we say off the card. What's the real difference?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, WrestleMania has gotten so big and so long. I think the entire proceedings from, like, pre-show, there's like a pre-show, I think, pre-show coverage or some wild crap like that. So I think the entire thing is going to be like 6 hours long or maybe longer.
What I mean by that is the whole thing is just ridiculously long. They're still in front of the same crowd that everybody else is on. It airs on the WWE Network, so it's essentially airing to as many people. So why not just, instead of saying it's on the pre-show, why not just fuck it, WrestleMania is 5 hours.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
It would just make a lot more sense to me to do that. Anyway, so let's go over the on the actual card matches, and let's do predictions, and let's see how we do.
Okay, Intercontinental title match. Kevin Owens is defending his title against 6 other people. It's Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Zack Ryder, Stardust, and somebody else whose name escapes me at the moment.
Is it AJ?
No, it's not AJ. He's wrestling Jericho.
That's right. He's wrestling Jericho again.
Which the whole heel turn and everything with Jericho, we'll go back to the ladder match because I have a little rant to go on there, but the heel turn and everything is fine. I wouldn't have a problem with this except for the fact that we've already seen the match 3 times. It would have been more effective if this was only the second or even the third just to make it the rubber match, but,
Seems like a lack of a direction to me. But anyway,
right.
Just to throw something out there, I'm going to say Dolph Ziggler wins it. I don't really believe that, but I'm throwing some love Dolph Ziggler's way because he's still one of my favorite guys to watch. Yeah,
the IC title ladder match, just woof. I'm so sick of these multi-man ladder matches. They bore me. I would say
it's like the Andre thing, where it's a requirement because it's tradition.
Yeah, they don't mean anything. You forget about it afterwards. They're just a spot fest. So it's like whatever. I wish they had just done Owens versus Sami Zayn 1-on-1, but whatever. I'll pick. Fuck it. I'll pick Sami to win the title, although it doesn't really matter.
I expect that. I think that's the safe bet. Him or Owens is the safe bet, but I'm going to pick Dolph Ziggler just to throw one out of left field.
Okay. And we talked about this match, Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles. I'm picking AJ for this one.
Well, I would have picked AJ, but they had him lose in his MSG debut, so that tells me that they're still doing some of their punishment crap. So I'm going to pick Kevin Owens.
I keep waiting for them to do that with AJ because they've done a pretty solid-ish job with AJ so far. They haven't fucked him up too much, but I keep waiting for it to come. Like the hammer's going to drop at some point.
At some point, he'll be wearing a chicken costume or something. You know, they're going to do something silly with him. But for now, I think he'll lose this match. I think Jericho will get the win, and people will start seeing the cracks in the AJ Styles build-up. That's just my thing. That's not how I would book it, but that's what I'd expect to happen.
Okay. We have a 4-on-3 handicap match. The New Day taking on the League of Nations.
I think New Day should win. They're hot right now. People really are talking about them a lot online.
Okay, yeah, they are hot right now. I'm really worried about them, though, because they've just turned them babyface. And as we've seen before, whenever a hot act that gets over for comedy and all that other stuff, once they go babyface, the writers get their hands in them and they ruin them. And I just keep waiting for them to ruin. Oh, I just summed up Santino Marella's entire career.
Yeah. Hey, this guy's funny. Let's write funny stuff for him.
Yep. It's kind of like what you see with movies where a movie is a surprise hit and then they have to do a sequel and the studio gets all involved in the sequel and the sequel sucks. Yeah. So in case you're wondering, Deadpool 2 probably going to be a disaster for that very reason. Just don't be surprised.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'll pick the New Day to win because the League of Nations sucks. I mean, and they're terrible. I can't think of. I'm not nothing against the individual talents per se. I just don't. The group just does nothing to interest me at all.
No, it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
It's essentially something you just pass over. You don't really think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we have for the Divas Championship. This match could actually be pretty good. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch.
I'm going to pick Sasha Banks to win because somehow she's related to Snoop Dogg. I don't get it. And he's going in the Hall of Fame, so I think they're going to do something where he's in the ring holding her hand up or something stupid like that. And that's the only reason. It's going to be like the Walter Payton and Razor Ramon thing from SummerSlam. I just expect that to be kind of what you'll see is like a nod of some kind. Okay.
All right. Just before I get into the Divas title match, I just looked up the Mania card. The seventh guy in the ladder match is Sin Cara. Not that I think that will change our predictions in any way, shape, or form.
No, that changes everything. Who do they have playing Sin Cara now? Is it like the janitor or something?
I think it's Hunico.
Oh, okay, there you go. So
it's I think he's still got it.
Yeah, okay. Brooklyn Brawler is pulling double duty as Sin Cara this week.
that may have been true at one time. I don't know. But yeah, I think the match will be pretty good. I think if you saw their work in NXT, you saw that these three girls were capable of really great stuff. And it hasn't translated as well to the main roster, but they've gotten themselves into a comfortable place where all three girls are over at least. And I think the match can turn out pretty well. I'm going to pick Becky Lynch to win the title. I think they built her up as a kind of scrappy underdog, and I think it would be satisfying to see her win the belt. Although, now that I know what you just said, I'm like, I could totally see them doing that. You may be completely right.
Yeah, I kind of go, you got to kind of, when you pick WWE stuff, you got to put yourself in a Vince frame of mind and what makes a good picture. You know, not necessarily a good story, but a good picture. So he can send a picture out of the new Divas champion and Snoop Dogg out to TMZ, and guess what? It's going to be on the. It's going to make TMZ.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Artistic integrity be damned.
Yeah. It doesn't have to make sense. It has to get us exposure. Damn it.
Even though they have more exposure than any goddamn wrestling company.
Yeah, they got every Thursday night they got Brock Lesnar on ESPN, guaranteed. We want to do business with you because we want to talk to Brock Lesnar once a week.
Yep, there you go.
That's essentially what their ESPN segments become. Oh, they could say, oh, well, they had Edge on there, too. Yeah, they had Edge on there, and the week before that, they had Brock Lesnar on, and the week before that, they had nobody on, and the week before that, they had Brock Lesnar on, and this week, they had Brock Lesnar on. So, it's always Brock Lesnar.
Oh, God. Well, speaking of Brock Lesnar, he's in the next match, a no-holds-barred street fight between Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose. Again, actually, I kind of like this match. It's a different pairing. I think the no-holds-barred environment is a unique one to put Dean on at least somewhat of an equal footing with Brock. It's like the only way somebody like Dean could ever be viewed as being on Brock's level is if there's no friggin' rules. And I think the match could turn out quite well. I still think Brock's going to go over, but this is actually, it's like finally they're putting Brock Lesnar in a fresh match because before he was just working with all the guys he worked with over a decade ago.
Agreed, and I think this has potential to be at least different. I'm not a big Brock Lesnar fan. I've never really been impressed by his work. I'm still not impressed by his work. The fact that he's an MMA darling does nothing to impress me. I'm sorry. I might be in the minority about that, but that's just the way I am.
I think he's a commodity that's booked very well. Like, he's believably a monster, and that's what I like about him.
I would put Ambrose over because I think he would walk away with a lot more face than Brock will by winning. I don't see what Brock stands to gain by winning. But I could see them.
Only match with Roman Reigns, clearly.
I guess, but do you really want to see that? I would book Ambrose to win it, but I think you're right. I think that they're probably going to give it to Lesnar.
Moving right along from there, we have our two main events. One of them a Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Shane McMahon. If Shane wins, he gains control of Raw, and The Undertaker is retired from WrestleMania. Your thoughts on this one?
Okay, let's take a step back here.
Okay.
Let's go back to even WrestleMania 20, which kicked off with Shane McMahon holding a baby and Vince McMahon talking about a new beginnings and all that, which actually had me thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to step down and give Shane the company. All right, so even if we subtract 12 years, or is it 12 years? Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, 12.
Okay, let's subtract 12 years. If you put Shane McMahon 12 years ago in the ring with The Undertaker, would it be a believable match?
No, you'd think, well, because he had worked with those matches with Kane at around that same time. And I've explained this before. Shane's toughness doesn't come from the fact that he can stand toe-to-toe with somebody like Kane or like The Undertaker. His toughness always came from the fact that he was a crazy daredevil that would do all this crazy shit to his body. And I think you summed it up pretty well. You said he's basically a backyard wrestler with a shitload of money. And I'm like, yeah, that's Shane McMahon. He's fearless. I don't believe that he's like this ultra tough guy that could beat The Undertaker straight up in a fight. He's going to have to like basically kill himself or use his brains and have some kind of master plan to screw Undertaker out of the match. But he's not going to. I mean, when Vince McMahon said that Shane is, quote, the most formidable opponent that Undertaker has ever had at WrestleMania, I'm like, wow, really, dude? But that's the way WWE operates. They don't expect us to have a memory for these type of things.
Well, I mean,
especially if you're a child, then you have no memory of these type of things, and they can just reshape it any way they want.
Right. I'll be glad to see what happens. I think it's going to be a run-in fest. I think you're going to see a lot of run-ins in this match.
In a match that's designed to not have run-ins.
In a match that's
the whole point of Hell in a Cell.
Well, that's exactly right. Keep everybody out and to keep the action on the inside. But I think you'll probably see Sting in this match. I think you'll see a lot of other guys make random appearances. Shawn Michaels is almost a lock to make an appearance in some way or another.
I'll tell you where he's going to make an appearance.
In the main event, in Triple H?
In the Triple H match, because Shawn Michaels has to be associated with everything that Triple H does at WrestleMania. I don't know why. It's just a rule.
Okay. Well,
yep. And actually, one prediction that's going around for this match, John Cena is going to cost Undertaker the match, because I'm picking Shane to win. And the reason I'm picking Shane to win is because why even go to the trouble of having that stipulation of him taking over Raw if he's not going to win. I mean, if Undertaker wins, then what was the point of doing the match?
Yeah, but if Undertaker loses, then his WrestleMania days are done, which does that matter?
Who? Just the streak's dead, so who cares? And we should renege on that anyway.
Yeah, they'll renege. Well, you know, how many people lose a retirement match or retire? So
there you go. Not many. Shawn Michaels has.
He's retired, but he was done. I mean, he still appears all the time, but but yeah, I'll keep him credit. He said he was leaving the ring, and he did. Whether that stays the case, you know, I think you'll see another match out of him one day.
I hope not, because he looks like Larry the Cable Guy now. He looks like a zombie version of Larry the Cable Guy.
He does, and that's not a good look.
No. Actually, you know what he looks like? He looks like Matthew McConaughey if Matthew McConaughey was like a redneck hunter guy.
Okay.
It's really weird.
Yeah, there you
Plus
go.
about 20 years.
All right. There you go. And speaking of all right, here comes. Let's go to the main event.
They're not going to give up on Roman Reigns, are they? They're going to, and you know what? And the reason everybody says they want, all the fans are saying, oh, they're ramming him down our throats like they are with John Cena. I'm like, yeah, they're doing the exact same thing they did with Cena, where it's just, we're not going to change the story. We're not going to change the plan. We're just going to ram this motherfucker down your throat until you accept it. And that's just what we're going to do. And I don't know how we got to that point to where it's okay to do that. I guess that's the benefit of WWE being the biggest game in town and WCW being dead, that they can just do that type of stuff and just pick their favorites, and regardless of what the fans say. But, man, it's like, really, is this what we have to look forward to for 10 more years? Because the fans just aren't accepting him, and that's fine, but you can turn him heel and do other stuff with him. It's not like, I'm not trying to shit on Roman here. I'm just saying, look, the fans just aren't going for it. And if nobody's buying into the protagonist, then the story doesn't work.
Right, and that's the, you know, I always like to compare things to Hogan. When Hogan started getting bad reactions at WCW, they had a meeting, and they sat down and said, okay, we're getting booed. What do we do here? They kept him off TV for a couple of months. He did the run-in, and boom, here's Hollywood. He's a heel, and, you know.
And they had to talk Hogan into doing that, apparently.
Oh, yeah, he didn't want to do it, but he did it. And, you know, there you go. It's one of the biggest things that ever happened in wrestling. So I don't know if Roman Reigns will be the same thing if he ever turns heel, but it certainly, even in our interview with Alex Chamberlain, he said the same thing. He said, look, people have to come to terms with the fact that this is going to be the next big guy. That's who they want to be the next big guy, and that's who's going to be the next big guy. So, see,
I don't like that mindset, though, because it's like, oh, well, you just have to take whatever they give you. And I'm like, no, I don't.
But you kind of do, because we've look, as recently as 6 years ago, we had a Monday Night War again. It wasn't a good Monday Night War, but what did people do? Instead of saying, yay, we have 2 shows on a Monday night, they pointed at TNA and laughed. And now look at them. A lot of people are pointing at them and laughing. The bottom line is, we've kind of created this because people are so willing to believe WWE King, WWE is King, WWE is King, that when they didn't accept anything that dared try to be in their league, whether it was ready or not is irrespective. Because people had this mindset as WWE is king, and anything that tries to do it, I'm going to mock and make feel like douchebags for doing it. Well, that's what happened. And, hey, you're reaping the results.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, yes, WWE is king. Yes, they are the largest wrestling company in the world right now. And that's,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's not going to change. But I don't have to be handcuffed to them either. It's like, all right, you walked away for a year. You said you haven't watched a WWE show since WrestleMania 31. You go out and you find other wrestling shows.
An episode of Tough Enough. That's the closest.
There you go. Yeah.
Other than that, I flipped on Rock for a couple of seconds and that again, and change it off.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't have any big problem with Disney, but let's say one day I just woke up and I just hated Disney and everything that they did. And it's like, I hate them because they bought everything that I love. They bought Marvel, they bought Star Wars, they bought Indiana Jones, and all the things they did with those things suck. That's not how I really feel, but let's say that I did. There are other movie studios out there, and there are other companies out there with other IPs that I can watch and love and enjoy, so I don't have to feel handcuffed to Disney. Or I have all the old stuff that I can go back and revisit, and I don't have to accept whatever shit they give me nowadays. So it's like this idea that we have to consume what the WWE gives us. I'm like, guys, I know we're all wrestling junkies here. It's like, you can walk away. It's okay. And I'm not saying this as a fuck WWE guy. I'm just saying this is like for your own health and your own mental stability. It's okay to walk away. It's fine.
I think it was Michael Manna who posted something, probably about a year ago. He said something along the lines of, for all the people who are so critical of WWE, why are you still watching? And that's pretty damn straight. And I've never been a WWE guy. As long as they've been WWE, I've never been a WWE guy. I was a WWF guy as a kid, but I was ECW and WCW, more so WCW than ECW, but still I was those guys. I've always kind of watched the other shows because I've just got a grimy feeling about WWE's business model. It's just not, morally I disagree with it. So I have a problem. I accept it.
Okay, as a WCW fan, and this is the biggest load of bullcrap that WWE tries to get the fans to digest and accept. All right, as a WCW fan, does it piss you off that they paint the picture that Eric Bischoff was a crook and WCW were a bunch of crooks for buying up all of the WWE's talent, when back in the 80s, that's exactly what Vince did? And if you look nowadays and you see all the talents that they're buying up right now, they're basically doing the same thing again with everybody else out there.
Right. Well, look at what they did with Austin Aries and Samoa Joe and all the other guys.
Nakamura.
TNA. Nakamura from NJPW. AJ from TNA/NJPW. I mean,
I'll say this. New Japan, losing Nakamura and, those three members of the Bullet Club, especially AJ, has hurt them a lot. Like, it's watching the shows, it's like, man, that left a gaping hole there.
Right. I agree.
Because I love Kenny Omega. I love him, but he's no AJ Styles.
No, he's not. What was I saying? What were we saying before that? I'm a little bit lost.
I was talking about the main event that nobody cares about.
Oh, yeah. You do have other choices out there to watch, and that's the bottom line. Is that's what I try to do. It's a little hard. I record a Paragon show that's on at 2 a.m. on the MSG's channel, so it's not as easy and readily available as Raw is. TNA, if you get Pop, and I'm lucky enough to get Pop, you can watch that. It's hit and miss. Some things are good, some things are not good, and I think they know it. Same with Lucha Underground. I just found them, and I'm not saying that's going to be my new baby, but I'm intending on keeping up.
Oh, they're my baby. I love Lucha, but.
So, yeah, I mean, there is other wrestling to be had. ROH as well is around and kicking. They're getting rated right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Long story short, my prediction for the main event is Roman Reigns will win. I don't see any
fuck
other...
you, that's why. I mean, it really is kind of like WrestleMania 22 all over again. All right, so if the good guy wins, the quote-unquote good guy wins, what happens? We have a babyface that nobody likes on top. If Triple H wins, we're all bored to tears because, oh, God, Triple H is on top again. I mean, there's no relief here. There's no good option. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. And we don't have a Money in the Bank winner to bail us out like we did last year.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, they really got themselves out of the hole on that one.
Yeah. Absolutely, they did. What I would do is I'd actually reverse the main events because there's more intrigue, whether I think it makes any damn sense at all or not. There's more intrigue into Shane and Undertaker than there is.
There's been some talks of closing with that match.
What's that again?
There have been talks of closing with the Hell in a Cell match.
I would, for visual purposes and for the sake of anything could happen. That's how I would book it. But
although it's got to be like. Poor CM Punk could never get a WrestleMania main event, but here comes Shane McMahon after being off the show for 6 or 7 years, and he gets the main event.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That would be funny. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that would be funny if they did that. But it just doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, think about it though. There was more intrigue to Hogan and Rock, and Triple H and Jericho were the main events, and nobody.
Which was a mistake, but yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. I mean, there's a possibility you're going to have whatever's the throwaway match between the Hell in a Cell and the main event. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, that's WrestleMania. It's looking okay, I guess. I mean,
there's a couple matches that could be good. It's just kind of like obviously injuries have hurt them a lot. That's why Zack Ryder is in a ladder match after. God, when was the last time Zack Ryder meant anything to the main show?
It's been a long time, and that's again a guy who got over on his own, so they had to bury him.
He didn't have the brass ring, James.
Well, that's the thing that they do. That's what I'm trying to say. They like to make the people that they make, and if they didn't make you, and they feel that you somehow thwarted their efforts to control everything that they ever created, then they might punish you. That's what they did with Sting. I'm predicting that's what they'll do, whether they do it Sunday or not with AJ. That's ultimately what's going to happen to him. They like to create superstars, and if they didn't create you, if you're your own creation or somehow manage to get over using whatever is at your disposal, which is what Zack Ryder did, they're not going to push you. They're going to make you look like a jackass. And they did that. I mean, he was essentially a jobber for years. So.
Again, that makes no sense to me. But I mean, but sure, okay.
Again, and I'm not. People will listen to this and think, oh, he just hates on WWE. I don't. I perfectly accept and understand their position. They are the king of wrestling. They're the number one company, and they probably always will be. But I, for a long time, have not enjoyed or appreciated their business model, nor what they do. And I'm not going to tell everybody that I do when I don't. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm not a WWE guy. I get them. I understand it, but it's not anything I would do.
No.
I like old school logic booking rather than, force-feeding people who they want to.
Oh, yeah, and even, like, making creative decisions based on T-shirt sales. It's like, really? That drives your stories? It's like, that's, okay.
All right, well, with that in mind, hope everybody enjoyed the Alex Chamberlain interview, and we'll be back in a couple weeks with another interview. We have a couple in the fryer here that are getting ready to be announced. So can't tell you about them yet, but we'll announce them soon. Thanks to Paragon Pro Wrestling and to Alex Chamberlain for coming on the show. And Patrick, thanks for joining us as well, Patrick.
All right, no, not a problem, man. This was fun.
All right, we should do it more often.
Oh yeah, right. I agree with that.
All right, take it easy, man, and enjoy WrestleMania, everybody, on Sunday and all the festivities that go along with it.
All right, bye-bye.